Welcome to Gen 365 podcast. This is an initiative of Beyond the Veil Mission. And this is a podcast for the community to empower a generation of healing and hope 365 days of the year. Come. Gen 360 family, welcome to Gen 365. Family, thank you so much again. We took a break for 1 month. And we are bringing you a second season about relationships, intimacy roadmap. So we're going to have different guests, and we are so excited to bring this conversation about love, intimacy, relationships. And today we have one of the amazing guests with us. And I think the fun fact today, me and our guest, we are in the same age range. And we are raising both boys. We have few things in common. But at the same time, there are also, differences and also beautiful things to explore. And today's topic, we are discussing or having a conversation about empowering women to communicate their sexual needs and boundaries. So this is the conversation. We are not experts. This is why we are welcoming you in this conversation. And we want to hear from you. So today I'm welcoming Gladys. Welcome. Welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
Yes, Gladys. Okay, tell us about yourself. And
okay.
We'll go from here.
Yeah, so my name is Gladys, as you say. I'm a Black woman of 37 years old, a mother of two, raising two boys, teenage boys. Been married for almost 15 years now.
Oh my God. Okay. You are successful in marriage. You're going to talk to us.
You can say that. I am kind of knowledgeable about long-term relationships for sure.
Yes, you are.
Yes. I'm so happy to be here and talk about this big topic with you, about the connection between sexuality and mental health, well-being, something that is very important to me. So, yeah, Let's do this.
Okay, yes. I think one thing I tell people, I think I've been also in a long-term relationship for 10 years. And whenever people hear that, how do I say this? We have been separated for a while, almost 2 years, me and my ex. And sometimes people are like, oh my God, we are so sorry, things like this. I'm like, oh, what are you talking about? My marriage was a success. Over 10 years means...
That's long.
That's really long. We really done something. So, and you are saying over 15, 16. So that's really well done. Anyhow, let's get into the topic. And I think when I approached you around April about this conversation, I think these are conversations that really fascinate me because where I grew up, and I think we come from a same culture, the conversation around sex, there's so many taboos around this. Even in 2023, where we expect really a huge change, I think when it comes to women and sex wellness, there's always limitation. And I wanted to have a conversation to hear ways we can empower women to communicate their sexual needs and boundaries. Because when women are sitting together, we talk about it, but I'm worried that when we do not communicate directly with the right people, I mean, either our partners, our partners where we expect that satisfaction from them, we can talk to each other, but this conversation, I'm afraid, do not leave the conversation with the room full of women. So anyhow, the first question I want us to discuss is, in a society that often shame women for being sexual, how can we encourage more women to explore and embrace their sexuality without fear or shame?
Okay, yes. That's a very good question. You are right. We talk about it about women. We think about it all the time. It's not true that women don't think about sex. I know there's this belief that women are not sexual beings. They don't, like, men think about sex all the time, but women do too. So I think the first thing is to acknowledge that. We come from a culture that shames women in many different ways. We are raised to think that the only reason we should have sex is to beyond, well, before it was about reproduction, yes. We still think, there's still a lot of people who think that in our culture, our mothers and our grandmothers and everything. But even in the new generations, when you start changing your mind and thinking about, when you start thinking about sex as a pleasurable action, most of the time I think women think the pleasure is not for them, but for the men that they are having relationships with. So I think the first step is education. Obviously, education is the first step for everything. But educating women in understanding and conceiving sexuality as their own pleasure, as their own, and not something just to give to men, to acknowledge yourself as a sexual, fully sensual feeling being, and embracing that. And on the other hand, not just educating women, educating men as well, because men also have grown in the same culture as we have. They have been raised by the same mothers as we have. So they also perceive sex as their own right, as pleasure as their own right, and not necessarily something they can offer to the women. They think
it's like for men, they are born expert. It's like,
yes.
It's like, even when I think today I was speaking with someone, I'm like, this is the podcast we want to do. What would you like to ask? She's a woman around our age. I'm soon 36 too. And then she's like, think about baby, is it bridal showers? She's like, bridal showers, talking about to women, buy this before your marriage. This is how you're going to prepare your body. And I think you mentioned that, thinking sex just as something for men, to please men. And then when we see, I don't even know if you have a bridal or groom shower for men, we see them taking them out for drinks.
I know. And bringing in strippers and all sorts of things. Yeah. And what we talk about before marriage is really like the things that you could do to make sure that your man does not go look for satisfaction somewhere else. You have to please your man. You have to, how you should clean yourself, the things you should say, the things you should not say, how you should dress, how you should make up your face, how you should make your bed, how you should, all those things about, making sure that the man stays with you, the man still wants you, desires you. But how about you? How about us? How do we make sure the men stay desirable?
The question is about how does another like a woman can explore? For me, let's see. When I used to live in Rwanda, I was convinced that I can never eat cheese in my life. I was like, I don't eat cheese, I don't eat butter. For some reason, I was like, I don't eat those stuff. When I got
those are the best thing.
I'm a cheese. My house can never eat cheese. Like, never. So when I got here, every food is cheese. I started testing. Now I eat cheese like 1,000 people. So because I tasted cheese, now I like it. So when we say women, how do we encourage women to explore and embrace their sexuality? How do you grow the need to explore if you never experienced the beauty of sex wellness? Let's talk about this. Because I'm going to give you an example. There's this woman who told me she was married for 10 years. And for some reason, she had an experience outside of her marriage after 10 years. And she had an orgasm for the first time. 10 years, never had an orgasm. That means for her, there was a new introduction that really opened up that door. Oh my goodness, I could actually feel more about this. Beyond reproduction and responsibilities, sex means something else. exploring if we have no idea.
Okay, yes, you're right. If you don't know something, you don't know something. There's this pastor who liked to say that you can't tell if a fruit is going to be sweet unless you have tasted it, right?
Oh my
Something
God.
in those lines. So I know, yeah, like exploring is good, but there's so many ways of exploration. You don't have to go seeking 1,000 partners or to find that one. I think exploration is really personal, and I believe personally that sex is a natural thing. It's something at a certain age, you start having these ideas in your mind, in your brain. That's the time to explore. That's why I think education is important, because we need to prepare our children, our new generation, to know that this is something that people do, and this is something that you will have feelings raising in your body, and those feelings are not bad. That's the first thing. The sexual urges and desires that we have, they're not bad. They're good. They're natural. They should be. We should be aware of them. We should listen to them. We should try to understand more about them. That's one side of it. Now, let's talk. You're an adult. You've been with someone for 10 years, and that's all you have known of all your life. Obviously, especially if you were like a virgin before you met this person, that's all you know. But also, I want to point out that pleasure comes in many different forms, okay? There's a big portion of women who do not orgasm, not because they can't or because they don't want to, but just because they've never known it. But it doesn't mean that their sexual life is not pleasurable, right?
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I don't think that you need to have an orgasm in order to enjoy sex, okay? So I think sex is about connection. Sexual pleasure is about connection. It's about being in a space that you feel is safe with the person you're with. Intimacy, conversation is very important. You have to talk to the person you're with to know what is pleasurable. You don't have to have that big O all the time. And if you have it,
that satisfaction has to be there.
Yes, so for this person who went outside of her partnership and found this extremely pleasurable experience, the question I would have to ask her is like, how was it before? Was it really bad? Was it harmful? Was it painful? Was it does not remove all the other experiences you've had.
Yeah, I think in her situation, even looking at her generation, I think it was more of like, the millennial generation is more open, but the generation before us, their standards, marriage, all these things, traditions that limited women to enjoy and explore their sexuality. And I think in her situation, it was more of like, a submissive, I don't know if I can call it submissive. It's where when women,
restricted.
Yes. It's like, limited. When we're having an intimate moment, it's more of when my man is satisfied, we're good. If I feel exploring, it might bring shame in a way. Because I'm going to be honest with you. There are many times when women, for example, share their experiences of things that they would like to explore. And then the first question from their men, they tell them, where did you learn that?
Oh, yes. Oh, and yeah. Again, that's a cultural thing again. Yeah.
So, and I think that woman was more in that situation where there were more stigmas, there was more shame, there was no freedom. Because even when I look at her situation, when she explored outside, even differences in age from the husband to the other person, there was a huge difference. Maybe she was able to feel free to express herself in another way.
Yes, that's why it's important to not forget the point of wellness. Okay, to have a healthy sexuality, you have to have a healthy mental well-being. Like, well-being is important. You have to take care of your well-being. It's true that as a woman, women, everybody knows that a woman's anatomy does not make physical pleasure easy, right?
Yes.
It's just, men have it easy, it's just
30
they're built
days
for
in a
orgasm.
month, they have it easy, and for us, there's these days of
yes
situation, these days of periods, before your periods, your boobs are everything. Sometimes
even the design of our parts are like more inwards, and theirs are outside and open. They're a little wind blow and pleasure is there. So I think it's very important for us to realize that we are very internal people as women. And a lot of these things that are blocking us are internal people. We have anxieties, we have shame, we have inability to communicate, to externalize our own desires. So that's the exploration that needs to be done. That's the education that needs to be done, to know that when you want to have a moment of physical pleasure, you cannot have it without a moment of a healthy, a brain free of anxiety and shame and all those things. So take care of yourself first. Take care of yourself. Make sure that you are in a place where you feel safe with a person you feel safe. Make sure that you know what you like. How do you like to be touched? Yes. You have to touch yourself, like you were saying. You have to eat cheese to be able to know that you like cheese. You have to touch yourself a certain way to know that you like to be touched that way, or you don't like to be touched.
I heard someone giving a tip one time saying that, especially one of the examples, like when you're taking a shower, technically you are touching your body, showering yourself. This is one way you can use to start noticing areas that are more sensual, areas that, when you're taking a shower, you go from your head, from your ears, from your boobs, from all the way down. I was saying, especially for women who are into abstinence, especially before marriage, this is one way you can start discovering what are the areas that are more sensitive on my body, what are the areas that feel different when I touch them.
Yeah, and everybody knows those areas. It's your body. You cannot tell me that you don't touch your body. It's just that sometimes, because we have these mental blockages, we don't linger in those spots. We don't, we feel that it feels good, but then we remove our hand when what we should be doing is actually, leaning into that and making sure that we are exploring the deeper and deeper pleasure of those things. And I like the idea of giving yourself pleasure. This is, I don't need anyone else to have pleasure. That's just me, It's my body first before anybody else.
That's your opinion, what you think about this. But, I think I always it's just a made-up theory that I came up with. Because this subject really fascinates me. I was always curious from the young age, especially when I think about that, sex hormones, actually, we start developing them from the teen years.
Yes.
And when you look at the mood swings the adolescents are experiencing, actually, they're mostly caused by the sex hormones that they're developing in their bodies. So that means, as young as you are, as young as a teen, they start experiencing those needs. And I question, I'm like, growing up, this is the time, especially in the Black communities, cultures, Afro-Black community. This is why your parents are really monitoring you.
Yes, and tell you, be careful. Be careful.
Yes. People who are faith believers, this is why we're praying so hard for God to shut down those feelings. And I'm like, and then when we hit the right time to enter the relationship that are more, I would say more, I don't know if I can use adult relationship. Then you you realize that you have accumulated so much shame around your teen years.
Yes.
As for the boys, during those times, it's like,
they don't get those.
we
Yeah.
are encouraging them. Oh my God. Oh, all the girls are after you.
Yeah.
So it's different. But,
It's
I
different.
wanted to highlight that because, where we come from this conversation, people might be like, oh, you are encouraging this and that, masturbation, whatever. But the idea is to recognize that these sex hormones, we are created with them.
It's
And
natural.
it's
natural.
like, our physiology, our whatever system, it's there. It's
Yes.
like the same way you have a need to eat, a need to do
Yes.
something. Those
Yes.
needs are here. For sure, as we grow up or as we mature, we have we become mentally, I don't even know what I can use. It's like more of making choice. What do I do with these feelings? And who is if the right partner do I decide? And what is the right time as well? This is where we meet different rules and laws about the society, age appropriate, time appropriate, and this impact. And the people are mostly impacted actually are women, because then there are rules and regulations about our bodies and our sex and wellness, and it becomes hard. But I wanted to ask you, obviously we share different barriers, but I wanted to know if you can share some of other common barriers that prevent women from enjoying sex, and how can we overcome them to achieve a more fulfilling sex life?
Okay, yeah. So I think we have started talking about this, like taking care of your mental health, making sure that you acknowledge your traumas that you have, experienced in your teen years as a woman, a Black woman, African woman, and starting to face that as you enter the adult life. And we have different shame around different things. We have shame about our bodies. We have shame about what, like, am I able to please, because we think, again, that we are meant to please. But for me, the big thing is to create a safe space for yourself, first of all, making sure that you know what you like. So first of all, you need to learn about your own points of pleasure, if I can call it that way, the things that you like and the things that you don't like. This is very important, to be able to put boundaries. What do you want? You're not going to do everything that the other person is asking. You also have to have your own limitations. I don't want you to touch me this way. And I know, because I speak a lot with a lot of people, there are things that I find very pleasurable that a lot of other women find disgusting, and or painful, or so. Acknowledge that you don't have to do things because everybody's doing it, because it's in all the movies, because it's in all the songs, or because that's the trend of the moment, right? So accepting your body the way it is, loving your body the way it is, and surrounding yourself with the people who appreciate you and your body the way it is, and who appreciate your boundaries, the people who are open to your needs, and open yourself to the needs of others. All these things are barriers that we don't get to explore because we do not explore our own needs. It automatically puts a barrier there, because first of all, we don't know what we want. Second of all, we don't know what we don't want. And third of all, sometimes we don't know how to communicate what we want. So communication is key. I think it's the biggest barrier, because even between people who've been married for years and years, there's still that problem of communication. And like you said, you would say, I would like to try this. And they're like, oh, how do you know this? It doesn't matter how I know this.
Where did you learn that?
I want to try it. I just want to try it. I want to see. I've heard about it. I've read about it. I've seen it in a movie. It doesn't matter. What matters is, are you open to experience it with me?
Are you comfortable? Yes.
Yes, what matters is that this is where I am at this moment in this and with you, and I want to experience it with you. And that's when you have that communication issues, that's when this person doesn't want to try this, so I'm gonna go and see if I can find someone else who can try it with me, right? So communication is the biggest underlying barrier of all problems
You
in a
know,
relationship.
I agree with you because, there is communication and there's two types of communication. There's communication in real life and there's also communication around sex and intimacy. These are two different things. And I think people have to be willing and comfortable to recognize that we have different needs and desires. And the idea is not that you agree with my needs or not, but is to allow me to actually even feel free to share my desires and my needs.
Yeah. Safe space is key.
Yeah. You said something about shame. I'm like, even as a woman, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm like in my 30s, that's when I started exploring the idea even of, I remember getting a big mirror, like
looking at yourself. Yeah.
I want to be comfortable with my body because I feel like, even with my partner at that time, I'm like, if the light is on, don't even look at me in a way. I'm not honest with you. With all the confidence that I have working outside, I don't think I'm yet to be that comfortable, with my body, with nothing on it. So I think that's when I started exploring, how do I appreciate this myself first before I can be looking for someone else to appreciate this. And I think women, it comes with a lot. Being comfortable with your body, being like, even the idea, this conversation, can I look at a man not wearing anything?
Yes.
But that's how I feel about that. I think shame, confidence, these two things play a key role in how we explore and how we feel comfortable and how we reach that satisfaction.
Yes, definitely. You got to look at yourself. You got to like what you see. You got to touch yourself. You got to kiss yourself. I used to kiss my hands and my everything, my arms. I'm like, I don't care. I love myself. I don't care if you don't love me. I have enough love for both of us and for myself. I don't need anyone else. So yeah, that's the level of confidence that you have to reach, It's, of course, it's important to be appreciated and be attractive and all those things, but doing things just so that you can be appreciated is, I think it's a wrong way of going. It's a wrong path, Women, we dress up to make an impression. We make up our faces because we want to be attractive, but you got to be attractive to yourself first. And another thing that I don't think a lot of women realize is that we think this is just a woman thing of trying to please, making a good impression. But I know men do that too. Do you think that when they wake up in the morning and wash their face and put those oils in their beards or choose this particular shirt and this particular shoe and this particular perfume, what are they trying to do? They're trying to, it's the equivalent of making up your face and your hair for women. Everybody wants to be able to please. And so women, I think we need to understand that and be aware that you're not the only one. It's not just us women who are trying to be attractive. Men have the same, some of the issues we share with men. So don't be afraid to talk about these issues with your men. Don't be afraid to talk about how you don't feel confident in your body, because they also have those issues. They have areas on their body where they don't feel confident. They have areas that they
and
have
that's actually
too.
something I wanted us to discuss. How do we address the persistent gender gap in sexual pleasure and ensure that women's sexual needs are prioritized and fulfilled in sexual encounters? Because there is a huge gap, obviously. Even when you look at statistics in terms of achieving orgasm between men and women, up to now, even in countries where the so-called developed countries, there's still a huge gap. Actually, there's a conversation that women who reach orgasm, most of the time, they are women who give themselves self-pleasure women who engage with other same-sex partners in that way. And when it comes to heterosexual couples, the gap is still bigger. Men are reaching orgasm on a higher level than women up to now. So I'm wondering, how do we address this gender gap in sexual pleasure? And how do we encourage women to, sexual needs, how do we really ensure that women's sexual needs are prioritized as well? Because when we talk about sex in our culture, I was so fascinated a lot growing up in a way. When I did my undergrad, I had a minor in sexuality studies because I was like, I want to learn beyond cultures and stuff, and really need to, because not only that I'm raising kids, the conversation I have with my kids, whenever we talk about it, sexual part, most of the time they're laughing, all of it. And I'm like, why is it funny when you talk about your ears? It's not funny. But when you talk about maybe someone's boobs, things like that, why it's not funny? So, trying to normalize that conversation in a way that, because one of the things that I read was that our countries, especially in Africa, they were saying that STIs, sexual transmission infections, are higher because sex is a taboo in our culture. Means that people are not comfortable.
We don't talk about it.
And I remember speaking with men actually here. There were like 5 men living in Canada for many years. I'm like, if you're about to have sex with a woman, you forgot your condom, and the woman told you, oh, don't worry, I got you have condom. What would you do? How would you feel about it? These men, all of them told me right away, I will run away. A woman who walks with a condom, there is a problem.
Yes.
So because there is a taboo and stigma, then I'm like, okay, you're going to feel uncomfortable with a woman walking with a condom and refuse. But if a woman don't show you condom and they carry an STI, you feel comfortable grabbing that rather than a moment of feeling like, how can this woman walk with a condom? So this conversation like maybe 2 or 3 years ago. So I'm like, how do we this, gender gap in sexual pleasure? What do we do with it?
Yes, it's a very big problem in our culture indeed, because again, I think it comes back to education. There's a lot of ignorance around what is a woman, like what is the role of a woman in a sexual relationship, right? Women are mostly on the receiving end. They take whatever the men are giving them, right? A woman is not the one to carry a condom because she's the receiver. She's not the giver. She does not give condom. Condom is given by men, right? So pleasure, like it's just that relationship between what we understand. Again, I use the terms men and women it's not necessarily heterosexual, right? So it could be between 2 men, between 2 women. There's always this role play happening. One person gives, one person receives. One person is on top, one person is on the bottom. And there comes a range of behavior that comes with the fact that you are on the bottom, and a range of behaviors that come with the fact you're on top. And the person who's on top is the person in charge. He's the person who gives the condom. He's the person who decides when to have the orgasm. Is the person who decides whether we're going to have this toy or not, whether we're going to have this, So that's a perception problem, I think. In our culture, women are perceived as person who are very quiet when it comes to sexual relationships, sexual experiences. They're not supposed to talk about their needs. They're supposed to accept whatever comes their way. And
let's not forget about men ego when it comes to questioning say sexuality or sex engagement. Because the thing is, there's 2 things one person told me. Because, it's been 2 years since my marriage ended, and I was having a conversation with my closest sister, And we were discussing about, Lydia, are you ever going to be able to open up to new relationship? And I'm like, oh, girl, I remember my son told me, Mom, it's been 17 years since you dated. You have no house.
You don't know how to date.
Conversation
You
with my
forgot
son.
how to date.
Then my son was like, Mom, you have no idea dating outside. You know nothing because it's been 17 years.
Yeah.
And then I was like, what is one tip you can share with me? And then she told me two things. She's like, first of all, now you're going to start noticing red flag before they come because now you know so much.
Yeah.
Secondly, two things. If you want to end up a relationship with a man, there's two things you're not going to question even if you saw them. One, their financial status.
Mm-hmm.
Two, because that's going to hit their ego really bad.
Yes, yeah.
And men are criticized or maybe they receive a truth that is uncomfortable, the first response is to attack. And
yes,
sometimes men will drop the word or attack you in any way, not because they hate you.
Because violence is rewarded in our society for men.
So financial status is one. Second, don't ever question the sex engagement. If it wasn't good, don't ever say anything.
Yes.
Just walk away, be like, you know what?
Because that's attached to their personality. Yeah.
Close this gap where women, if a woman is asking more, you know what? This thing we've been doing for months, I think I would like to explore this. Then the man might be like, are you sure you're not satisfied? I am not.
Okay. Yeah, so that's the thing. How do you close the gap, first of all? For women, education for women should involve not pretending to like things that you don't like, right?
Okay.
There's the thing that you have to show pleasure, even exaggerate pleasure. Pretend that you are orgasming when you're not orgasming. Moaning when you're not having pleasure. Not express pain when you are dying with pain, right? So I think the first thing is really to know how to communicate. It doesn't necessarily to be like open about having sentences. Like communication in intimacy doesn't have to be fully formed sentences. It can also be body language. It can also be the way your body acts when it's touched. You're touched in a certain way. You move in a certain way that shows that, oh, you like that touch, or you move away. Oh, I don't like that touch. And so this goes hand in hand in men education of knowing, like how to read. I don't know if I could read body language for women.
Yes.
So no, and also being comfortable with saying, you know what, I didn't like it that much. I did not like this way, the way you touched me. I did not like the way you hold me. I did not like the way you did not let me touch you a certain way, So maybe at the end, maybe not during the act, maybe at the end, you have like a little recap on the pillow talk. Pillow talk is very important. People do not do pillow talk, right? We just do things boom, boom, boom. Then that's it. You go to bed and sleep. You need back. You have to get back to the experience, talk about it, savor it if it was good, criticize it if it was bad. And again, this is all not something that comes out of nowhere. It takes building up, it takes practice, it takes talking to each other, it takes knowing the other person before you even engage in any physical action with them. You gotta anticipate. You gotta do foreplay. You gotta talk to this person, excite them mentally, especially women. We need mental excitation.
Yes.
Before we get physical.
Yeah, and I think I forgot to share the theory that I just developed as a woman. Was that you hear often women say, oh, this man doesn't know what to do, blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, think about this. And I think I like that you shared that our needs are more internally. Actually, when you touched that part, I was like, oh, our main sexual parts are actually internal organs, right? But for the men, it's outside. I was like, oh.
Yeah, it's out there.
The way God designs things, he always have his intention. So I feel everything is inside, and for men it's outside.
Yeah, you gotta reach a little bit deeper to get there. Yes. And this is what I always tell men. It's like I'm pretty sure it's like you could come just because it's good weather out there. It's, but for us, no, that's not the case. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think I share with women, with women something. I'm like, think about a house that you are familiar with. It's a house, it's your own house, and then you get a visitor. And this visitor can come many days of the week. We don't care how many days. However, this is your own house. You know where everything is. Where is the kitchen? Where is the washroom? Where is everything? And when your visitor comes in, the lights are off. You live in the house. Every single time you date, the lights are on. But when you get a guest, the lights are off. What do we do with our guests? 1 second.
Yeah, so
what do we do with our guests? If you have a guest in your house and then the lights are off, what are you going to do as the owner of the house? You don't have any other light. What are you going to do to help them?
You got to show them where the light switch is.
What if the light is not working? Okay, let's see. You got to show them where the light switch is, but also you might hold their hands and take them in every room, show them. This is exactly where the washroom is. This is exactly where the bed is. And I think for the woman body, let's maybe,
the same. Yeah. I like that analogy.
When you have your man, I feel like, for women to achieve the sexual pleasure, the desire, I think at the end of the day, you're going to learn how to take the lead and guide your man.
Give them a tour. Give them a tour of your body. Yes. That's
when
very important.
Tell them, come back.
Yes, you got to show them, watch your step here. That's a no-go zone. Yes, go on here. Very good. Continue. Touch the wall. There is a wall here. Don't hit the wall. Watch your step. That's very important. I like that analogy.
And, I'm like, we gotta stop complaining what men know and what they don't know and be able to show them around, to invite them and show them around. And,
but also they have to be open to, learning and being guided.
Right.
So that's why the education goes both ways. I am a big believer in educating men about women bodies and women pleasures and women desires and women needs. We can't just be talking among women. We need to let these men know what they're doing wrong. We need to let them know how they can fix their problems around the sexuality issue.
And I think I like this. They say that in assertive communication, there's two words that are important: the I message and the you message. And I think when we communicate how the experience make us feel against how our partners make us feel, it makes a huge difference. Because when I use I, feel like, this is if affecting me in this way, there's accountability and there's direct feelings about me. And when I use
you're not accusing,
I'm judging, but when it's more, we are doing this for a while, but I think this is making me feel this way. I would love to explore this in order to feel this way. Anyhow, I wanted to ask, I think we have touched base about misconceptions about women's sex, or maybe if you have anything to share about, misconception about women and sex, because as you said, we are seen as receiver, and in a way that we are here to give pleasure. But when it comes to receiving, it's like we are expecting someone to do it. Do you have any other misconception out there? And how do we help anyone to understand women's sexual experience?
Yeah, so I think we talked about it at the beginning. Biggest misconception is that women do not enjoy sex as much as men, or do not need to enjoy sex as much as men. I've heard this a lot, like, it's different for you women, you don't have, like, even it just because it doesn't show doesn't mean we don't have desire. Like when a man has desire, you will see it, like, in their pants and everything, and they will be open. But again, that's the thing about like external versus internal body design. So I think that is the most important thing to realize, that women,
Yes.
we also wake up with needs in the morning, just like men. It's just, it's
Yes.
the natural thing.
I think that's a big one. Thinking that, and I remember even growing up attending church when they were like, a list of things men like, a list of things women like. And the top will be, oh, men like sex, and the top will be, oh, women like protection, and all of them like,
no.
wrong,
I think it's about time that we all realize that we're more similar than we are not.
Yes.
So a lot of things that you will find, like I was saying, the issues that we have, this shame issues and trauma issues, a lot of them we share with men. Body negativity we share with men. Desire, sexual desire, we share with men. Communication barriers, we share that with men too. So I that's what I believe, and I think everything goes better when you are open to communicating. So I think the question was what again?
Wanted to with some of the misconceptions, and I think that's a big one, because some women have a high sex drive, men, and I think that's something men, even everyone should know. And sometimes when we have women like that, we can call them sluts, we can call them all the names, because they are free to express their sexual desires. And I think these things you have to pass them when it comes to sexual needs. Of course, maybe with science and everything, we can understand why men all the time, they're reading everything. But women with a monthly cycle, there's maybe
they're exploring.
Where my body is declining me. But still, I think in those moments that actually women who are still active, who are still have sexual desires in those difficult days of the month. So I think there's no one way or the other. We have to be open. I think we can move to the last question. I wanted us to talk about sex and boundaries in a relationship, but I think we have touched base on that, the importance of communication, the importance of being open to your needs. I wanted to ask you, what are the tips that you can share with our audience for maintaining a healthy and happy sex life? And how can we prioritize our sexual wellness in our daily lives?
Okay. Yeah. So empowering women to communicate about their needs. That's what we're doing now, right? We're talking about this, and how to maintain a sexy, and healthy, happy, sexy sex life. We talked about prioritizing your wellness. You're making sure that you're in a space where you're not feeling judged. So making sure that everything that's being done to you or that you're doing to others comes from a place of express consent. You have consented to everything that's happening, and you know what's happening. It's not something that the thing with our community, Black community, it's also something that I find men take for granted, that women, like, you just approach a woman and that's all you need to do. They will go with you, right?
You know what, Gladys? Someone was saying something. I don't know other cultures, but in my culture, I thought this conversation will continue. If you feel you are not represented in this conversation, we're going to have more conversation about this with young people, with men as well. So don't worry. Or you can also be our guest. If you see something missing, bring it to the table. There's something someone was saying. I will speak from my culture, where I come from, Rwandan culture. When you smile at them, come say hi to you. It
means yes.
And you express that you are kind, you're being gentle.
Yes.
It's like an invitation to, can we explore more?
Girl, I learned not to smile. It's something I actually force myself not to do anymore.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because I'm a very happy person. Naturally, I'm a smiley person.
Yes.
But then I've realized that people relate to me differently when I smile and when I don't smile. And sometimes I get these attention that I do not need when I'm in my natural self, smiling all the time. So I think this is another thing as Black women we learn to do. We learn to change our behavior because it is misconceived when, like, we you're out there being yourself, and people think that you're just, looking for something you're not looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, it's very important to know that and be aware. Like, self-awareness is very important. Again, that's one tip to how to have a happy sexual life. Self-awareness, body awareness, exploring new things, try new things. If you don't like something, don't keep doing it. Try something else. There are so many things. The internet is out there full of information, literally. We have books, you could talk to people, and just prioritize yourself. Yourself and yourself.
Yeah, and I think one tip I can share is that whatever information out there, I think sex wellness in real life, it's not what we see in TVs. It's not what we read in books. I think it's more of like, a natural connection that comes between two people. And then from that, you explore from that with whatever that chemistry is leading you to. Because, when we look at the things outside on the internet, in movies, and try to imitate that, sometimes it might be like, it's not even done, we like performing or whatever. But I think it's not...
And how do you build connection? It's through communication.
Oh my God. And there's through communication. The one
that's it.
Intimacy, a university school for that, because that one, and I feel like, for women, for me, something I share with women, like I'm exploring with other women, is the idea of sex should leave you happy. Like you have to have that happy feeling. It's not about laying down, performing that as a duty responsibility. I think, and I'm gonna be honest with you, when I see a couple or like two partners where there is like, more tension, not happy, I'm like, okay, how is the sex life? And I think I'm gonna tell there's something also I've seen. Many issues we express in our, let's say, marriage. Many can hear, this woman doesn't respect me. This man does not love me anymore. Sometimes I've noticed that, especially not working with different clients as a psychotherapist qualifying. I've noticed that these are things we use to communicate the lack of intimacy in our relationship. But because we can't communicate and express that in the better way, it comes out as he doesn't love me or she doesn't respect me. But what we mean truly, there is a piece missing in the marriage or in the relationship.
Yeah. What we mean is we're
Intimacy
not
is not happening. Then for men, when they're not really releasing those hormones and everything, they might become aggressive. And for women, they will feel neglected. And then it goes from I miss you, we have not touched each other, to anger, to all the things, then disrespect, then don't even look at me, you don't love me. And then the major issue, and I think like, many couples, if we can see sex beyond just, a duty performance to as the way we look for what is the next meal, what are we going to eat? And take the time to prepare. Can we do that about sex as well in relationships so that there can be more joy around it and freedom?
Yeah, how can we improve our sexual intimacy? How can we improve as a couple? It's very important. I think the problem is, again, people do not prepare. Yes. I think we've talked about everything. It seems like it's very sexual health is really like you could have all the money, you could have all the other stuff of life, the material stuff, but if you are not having a good sexual relationship with your partner, you will never be satisfied. Right? So, and it seeps into these other areas of life and creates the tensions and the aggressiveness and everything. So it's very important that we get to the bottom of it. How do we create a space, a bedroom, a space that is inviting, that is, it puts us in the mood, right? So it's very important. And this does not begin in the bedroom. Actually, it begins like outside in the morning, when you wake up at 7 a.m. or whatever time you wake up. At your workspace, you were thinking about your person, you send them a message, again, we talked about foreplay. We talked about communicating. If you see something, you read something in a novel or whatever, and you say, "Oh, I see this thing. It sounds interesting. I would like to see if we could maybe try it." Again, having this attitude of openness, attitude of trying new things, and having the attitude of making sure to discuss it with your partner and agreeing on it, having consent and going into it together as a unit. And then at the end of it, talk again about it. Pillow talk about it. How was it? Is it something that we can keep doing, or is it something that we could just remove on our list and never think about again? Right? And so.
And also for women, think about this. Sex wellness is not just about the pleasure. It's about your overall well-being, your mental health, lowering your blood pressure.
Yes.
Reducing stress, better immune
exercise.
Yes, possibly, low risk of heart disease. So think about all the health issues among women. Lack of sex is one of that can cause mega issues in our lives. So be open more to see it as a need, the same way you see food or everything. Look forward to eating the next meal. So I think when we get to that point, it's gonna be.
Yeah. Is it healthy or is it unhealthy for us? Just like
beyond
when you're
healthy, beyond healthy.
No, I'm saying when you're exploring your intimacy, the things that you do, you have to pick and choose, just the way you choose food, like you were saying, right? Is it healthy? Is it unhealthy? Is it good? Is it bad? So that's I think we had. Did we not talk about everything? I think we talked about it.
We did. Let's leave the conversation for next time. But thank you so much, Gladys. I think these are great conversation. And, send us your comments, be our guest. And I think I look forward to this season to learn more from different people about sex and wellness. And honestly speaking, I am telling you, many people are in therapy because there is lack of sex happening. So,
a lack of communication mostly, I think.
Yeah, communication around that. Okay. Thank you so much. Okay, Gen 365. See you next time. Thank you. That's it for the week. We hope you gathered your dose of resilience for the week ahead. Follow Gen 365 podcast to know when the next episode comes up on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, or Google Podcasts. Share with your friends, community, and family, and do not also forget to follow and share feedback or questions on our community organization social media at Beyond the Veil Mission on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Or learn more about our work via our website at www.beyondtheveilmission.com. In the spirit of building resourceful, stronger communities, we can also help your community or business or organization to share your news and event on our podcast. Please email us for collaboration at podcastgen365@gmail.com. Thank you. Bye.